Okay, this is a video tutorial on importing sales data into the new sales tool. It's going to be a little bit longer of a video because I hope to just tie everything all together so that it does make sense, because we've made video tutorials in all of these different sections of sales settings, preferences, alternate IDs, commissions, etc. And now that all comes together when you import the data. Getting started, you're going to just want to come in here to sales settings. You're going to get a jump on everything here so you can set up commission splits in the commissions. Now that way when I import data for Armstrong based on company assignments, it knows that Natasha Romanoff, Steve Rogers, Thor Odin, Tony Stark, they're going to get these split percentages. Yeah, it's already set out here. I've already put that in there. I can also come in and get very granular. I can say Natasha should get 8% with this specific company and this specific line. So you can get very granular. And it just makes importing a lot easier. So that's commissions. That's how it's tied in there. Now the next one is manufacturers. Manufacturers, you're able to determine the lines that you represent and the agency commission rate here. You're just, when you import it, it's going to set that aside for the agency commission, and then the rep will get their percentage from that agency commission. Sales reps, you're only going to come here if you have exceptions. So if Natasha Romanov doesn't represent Bemis, you can uncheck that box. So then she'll never be considered for commissions, even if it's companies that she's assigned to, when Bemis is in the mix. Now you can also, these are companies that she's assigned to, you can just uncheck it. Yeah, she's still assigned to that account, but she doesn't receive commissions for it. Okay, so these are just the exceptions. If your assignments are clean and organized, you won't have to worry about this. If they're only assigned to accounts that they actually receive commissions for, then don't worry about coming here. Hopefully that makes sense. This is tying it all into the imports. The last section, alternate IDs, these are created while importing, and all it's doing is creating a link from the companies in the Excel spreadsheet to companies in Telenotes so that the sales data is linked to the correct company. Now our system is going to remember that. It's going to remember the column headings. Let me pull up a Excel spreadsheet here. Yeah, so it's going to remember these headers at the top: customer, manufacturer code, manufacturer, etc. And it doesn't matter what they are. They can say anything that they need to. You don't have to follow a specific template. Just stick with the same template that you have for each manufacturer, but then our system will remember that. Yeah, so this is just a simple example import, and the headers, you know, they're all very self-explanatory, but maybe they're not, maybe they won't be. But as long as you know it, within the importing process, you're going to be able to match those columns to something that makes sense in Telenotes, and then you can do that. So let's just say, for example, if this was just something like manufacturer and then it had maybe a dollar sign or something like that, but it's not super clear what this is, but you know what it is, you'll match that into Telenotes and say, this is the sales revenue, this is the gross sales. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just import, and we'll show you how you create these alternate IDs. There are video tutorials that go through each of these, like I said before. So from anywhere in the tool, reports, history, or even here in the sales settings, there's add sales data. You can click on that. This is the manual entry section. Don't worry about this. You know, this is a great tool if you're copying something over from a PDF. You can just copy it right here and put it into Telenotes. And it'll, based on the assignments and what's set up in sales settings, it'll calculate those splits and everything as well in the manual entry. But we're concerned with right down here. So we're going to go ahead and just drop a file, drag and drop right here. And now, based on our spreadsheet, we know that this is for one manufacturer, and that's Kinplex. The dates, we actually have multiple dates. So I'm going to check this box. And these are just questions about the Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, so agency commission. We have agency commissions that are set up. You saw in manufacturers that we have all of our manufacturer lines and the split percentage. So we could simply say calculate agency commissions. But I'm just going to say that we're importing the amounts, because if we look at our spreadsheet, there's the amount right here. This is the commission. Yeah, agency commission. Now, when you choose this, it's going to override what is in Telenotes, what you've set up in manufacturers. It's not going to save over it, but it's just going to ignore that because you're saying I'm actually importing the amount. So this is a great way to get exceptions in there as well. Sales rep commission, we also have the amounts in here, but I could just calculate them. I say calculate it based on one, the company and the manufacturer and who's assigned to that company. Yeah, that's what it's looking at. So there's that option. But we'll just say I'm importing the amounts. Choose the company name option. My company names, okay, this is an important one. When building out the alternate IDs, when you're looking at these first two customers, they're both A+ electric. And my manufacturer, the manufacturer code for these is exactly the same. So far, there's nothing that differentiates these companies to link them to a company in Telenotes. But if we keep going down to something that's not going to change, for example, the address, we can see that the address is different, city and state are both different. We're going to use all of that data to create a unique ID and then link that to Telenotes. My company names are not unique. Yeah, even though we do have one that is unique, Beans Cooling, but we have to say that they're not unique because they're not all unique. Company ID option, my IDs are not unique as well. So we'll click next, and then here we're just matching the columns with the sales data. So gross sales, we know is the sales. Agency commission, commission. Sales rep, rep name. Sales rep commission number, and that's the dollar sign is there because it's the actual amount. You can import the percentage as well, but this is the split amount. Invoice date, invoice date. Make sure that's in the right format, the month, the day, then the year. So that looks good. Now remember, our system is going to remember this. Yeah, it's going to remember these names. So the next time you import for the same manufacturer, for the same template, it's just going to pop the data right in there, unless there are some exceptions. Then we'll click next. And right here, we're building out the alternate ID. So we want the name so that we can identify the customer. You can add the code if you'd like. I'm going to leave it off for now. But I'm going to do the address, the city, and the state. Yeah, I could do something. You just want to pick columns that aren't going to change. So here in this little help right here, you know, avoid invoice number, order number, quantities, and then at the top, these are ones that you should select. So you're just building it out to link them to Telenotes. So then when you click next, you're going to have these companies, and this is what I selected, the company name, the address, the city, and the state. Yeah. So then I'm able to come in here and pick the correct company. Now we're going to say this one's branch 1 and branch 10. And then this one is also just, we know that it's Beans Cooling. So we'll select that. So you can see right here, this is where we are linking them. And it's going to remember this. It's going to look for those columns, be able to identify the companies, and then link them to Telenotes. Now you'll only get this page if there was a new company added that didn't have a link. So it's a very handy tool. Then we click next, and there's the data. It's been imported, the companies are linked, and then here is all the percentages because those are the amounts that we had in there. And then also here, once you have this data here, this is just kind of a table view. So you can make changes to this import. If I click on a manufacturer or a company or the gross sales, agency commission, even the date, I can change any of those. I can delete an entire row right here, and I can also add a row. So if I need to add something different, you know, the whole import looks good except I just need to add one thing. You can do that right here and just add in manual entry, put in the data. You can also do the same thing with the rep. So you've got the data here. You can change the rep, the split amount, the commission, etc. You can also delete specific rows. So there's a lot of functionality here. You can customize the data. Just make sure, you know, if you need a record of those changes, to change them in the Excel spreadsheet as well, or just change them first in the Excel spreadsheet and then import them with the changes. But yeah, this allows for all those exceptions. Now, if you have any questions, there are arrows up here that kind of help you guide that. If you click on them, it'll filter through so that you can clean up the data. Any splits that are over 100% will also show up here, and you can click on that and just make sure that you can get those cleaned up so that there's not any errors. So you can see those. That's everything that we imported. So when you're done, you can click import. If for whatever reason you need to save it here, you can click save draft, and that'll save it. I can come back later and finish it, Or if I need to get back, I want to calculate or just change something here, you can click File Settings and you come back to this screen. You can work your way through for any changes that you need to make. Now, if I could cancel, this is going to take me out completely. This is how you import data. This is a very simple example, a very basic example, but just look at your Excel spreadsheet and then look at the data that's being imported and answer those questions accordingly. If you have any questions, we're happy to walk through it with you, help answer any questions, but you should be good to go. Let us know, and thank you so much for watching.